There is a specific kind of power we are all trained to recognize, the kind measured in steel, jet fuel, and force projection. This chart illustrates a staggering gap in global military spending. The United States spends roughly $700 billion, matching China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and India combined. For generations, theorists defined true influence through exactly these metrics: geographic expansion, resource control, and a massive arsenal. By every historical standard of measurement, from Rome to the British Empire, the United States currently holds absolute unipolar global dominance. On paper, this accumulation of hardware and capital guarantees the ability to dictate terms to the rest of the globe without any real resistance. Yet recent history shows the world's most heavily armed nation repeatedly finding itself bogged down and drawn out, highly unpopular conflicts that it struggles to win. The catastrophic attacks at the start of the 21st century triggered an enormous surge in defense spending and a wave of preemptive military campaigns. But those conventional armies failed to eradicate decentralized, borderless terrorist networks. A dozen active wars haven't stopped global migration waves, stabilized rapid market crashes, or contained digital extremism. This creates a widening gap between the military might on display and the actual ability to solve the core crises of the 21st century. After the devastation of the Second World War, European diplomacy took a completely different path. International relations began prioritizing the living standards, welfare, and human rights of citizens over the accumulation of military might. The Cold War-era Soviet Union followed the opposite logic, relying entirely on physical force, with over 60,000 tanks and millions of soldiers to keep its empire intact. That massive military apparatus ultimately fell to internal pressures. Millions of citizens who valued the freedoms and prosperity of the West more than the ideology of their own state. Time and again, we have seen oppressive systems dismantled by individuals relying on moral authority and collective action rather than weaponry. The physical authority of the state has become increasingly vulnerable to the ideological and collective will of its people. The information revolution accelerated this vulnerability. Global interconnectedness means that state actions, especially warfare, are now watched, judged, and broadcast to billions in real time. This transparency has turned traditional conquest into a high-risk liability, with state violence now regulated and scrutinized by international legal bodies. Power has also shifted to the markets. Multinational tech giants now hold valuations and systemic leverage that exceed the influence of many sovereign governments. Activists and NGOs use these same digital networks to bypass state authority, mobilizing global outrage to topple regimes in a matter of days. The nation-state's monopoly on power is over, replaced by a fractured network shared among corporations, media, and activists. Which brings us to the rising geopolitical tension between the established United States and a rapidly expanding, economically powerful China. This conceptual diagram visualizes the Thucydides trap, an ancient theory suggesting a violent clash is inevitable whenever a rising power threatens an established one. Since international security is now 90% non-military, influence belongs to the networks that can master human security, the kind of safety that comes from economic stability, shaped information, and mutual trust, rather than the threat of violence.